This video is a recording from the MenProvement Podcast, brought to you by MenProvement.com, the #1 self-improvement resource strictly for men. Go there today to see all podcasts, improve yourself as a man, and get access to 3 free ebooks, including one that will help you triple your testosterone naturally. Thank you and enjoy.
Ready to take your life to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Get all the information you need to be better, improve everything, and live life like a pro. This is the MenProvement Podcast with Sean Russell.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the MenProvement Podcast, the #1 self-improvement podcast strictly for men. The topic of today's show is how the busy 9-to-5er can achieve the performance of an elite athlete. And for today's show, I have an incredible guest. His name is Jimmy Smith of Jimmy Smith Training. He has been a trainer to numerous elite athletes and UFC fighters, and he really knows his stuff. In this talk, you're going to learn all about how you can achieve peak performance without having to go on any crazy zero-carb diets. You're going to learn how to manipulate your carbs at certain times a day to have higher energy levels throughout the day and to still lose fat and gain muscle without having to completely give up that pasta or rice or bread that you so dearly love. Along with that, you're going to learn a lot of things about cholesterol. You're going to learn certain foods that will help your sex life and that will trigger your fat burning hormones. And there's so much more packed into this episode that I'm just excited for you to hear it. But before we jump into it, I just want to give another shout out to our sponsors of the show, Combatant Gentlemen. If you check them out on combatgent.com and you use the checkout code MenProvement with your purchase, you're going to get a free tie with every order. And what these guys do is they offer beautiful men's clothes for ridiculously cheap prices. I'm super happy that they're our sponsor because they truly improve men's lives. You're not going to find cheaper clothes than on combatgent.com. They have full Italian wool suits for $160, and they can do all this because they actually raise their own sheep and they pick their own cotton and they have zero middlemen. So they bring you legit clothes for awesome prices. Definitely check them out and use the code MenProvement to get a free tie with any order. So with that, we'll jump into today's show, how the busy 9-to-5er can achieve peak performance with Jimmy Smith. All right, guys, I'm here with Jimmy Smith of Jimmy Smith Training. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm good. How are you, Sean?
I'm great, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Well, my pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie. Jimmy and I just connected a few days ago, and I don't know much about him. I know he's a very well-respected trainer in the industry. So why don't you tell me and everyone else, what you do, how you got started, and a little bit about your background.
Those are always the hardest questions to answer. To be honest, because you end up talking about yourself. But in a nutshell, I attended a Ryan Lee seminar in 2006. I got out of college in 2004 and, was a trainer and knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to become an elite trainer, but I also wanted to build a business. But I kind of didn't know how to go about it. So a year and a half, 2 years went by. I went to a Ryan Lee seminar, and back then it was half business seminar and half just training stuff. So the business part really caught on because he was talking about the basic roots of online businesses like ebooks and membership sites and things like that. So I said, that's really cool. So I went back home. I registered jimmysmithtraining.com, which, is still out there and active. I don't really do much on it. Main stuff happens on physiqueformuladiet.com, so you can get my podcast, my videos, all that stuff. But I went out and just kind of jumped into the online world. And, while I did that, I tried to approach it from different angles. I tried to, get coverage in magazines for articles to build up my reputation and my knowledge. But at the same time, I was trying to do the online marketing stuff, whether it was, YouTube on and off or was podcasts. Because, I've been podcasting on and off for a few years before finally really diving headfirst into it. And, I kind of just grew from there, I guess, if that answers your question in a roundabout way.
Yeah. So you started all this in 2006. So you've been around for quite some time.
Man. I've been around. I've seen so much come and go because in 2006, there was still not a lot of people online. Like, I remember I got slack for it at my training job because they were like, why is one single trainer going to have a website? They didn't see the long-term potential that I saw in it, which was have a website, get content up, get traffic, monetize those views, monetize those impressions, because every eyeball you can monetize to a degree. And then so I've seen things come and go. Like I've seen people start and stop. I've seen people come out of nowhere and explode and have, businesses that make them close to $1 million a year because they happen to get in with the right crowd that promoted their stuff, that built their online list. So I've seen so many different fads come and go in the online marketing space and the online fitness marketing space that I guess I'm kind of like a veteran now to a degree. So
yeah, I'd say, I started 14 months ago, and I'm so envious because I could only imagine if I started in 2006 where I would be right now, and I guess I'll be there eventually. But yeah, I know sites from about 4 or 5 years ago that are huge now, multi-million-dollar sites because of the time that they got started. The internet was still so young, and it still is.
It's funny because I know of a few sites that are only a few years old, and they seem to do good on the exterior based on Facebook fans or based on traffic or whatever you hear about online. But I think a lot of it is catching lightning in a bottle to a degree. Like, to make it short, I got online and I first would send an email newsletter out, and I had co-hosted a podcast back in 2006. And I went on there one day and I said, hey, everybody go to jimmysmithtraining.com, and I had an opt-in box and sign up. So from there, I started slowly building an email list, which was the really first way that people started to market. And for the most part, it's almost it's the best way. And I started doing that, and then I would write for a site like T Nation, or I'd write for a site on bodybuilding.com. And back then, the people that would write for those websites were not business minded. They were just trainers or bodybuilders or whatever, but I would always have a link in my bio to my website. So, a day that a T Nation article would come up, I'd have a link that would send them to a squeeze page, which is just a page designed to capture an email list. There's no content on there. It just is a box that says, hey, enter your email here for a report. And sometimes I would get 50 to 70 to 100 people a day. But as more and more people started doing that, the website started not letting you send to a squeeze page, or not putting your information in there. I had a buddy that wrote an article for T Nation on foam rollers, and he actually put an affiliate link. So he made a percentage off every sale. He put an affiliate link in that article to perform better. And he made like a few $1,000s based on the traffic that T Nation had in a few days, because T Nation itself, a big company, didn't know about affiliate links in articles. So I've seen the internet kind of come and go, and I've seen how, every now and then someone new will hit on YouTube, and they'll have 1 million subscribers on YouTube because they're jacked and they take their shirt off or whatever. So there's so many different fads. There's so many ways to do it. And I guess the message is you just kind of have to find your own voice and build your own platform.
Yeah. So I'm sure you could talk for days on the business end. You've been doing this for ages, and maybe we'll get you back on here to talk about marketing and how you built your brands to what it is today, because I know you have over 200,000 Facebook followers and 50,000 Twitter followers and 50,000 YouTube followers. So you're a huge brand, and I know I can learn a lot from you. But for today, I want to talk about, because what you do obviously on the web and with all your businesses is you teach people to achieve optimal performance, correct?
Right. Correct.
And you have a book out called the Physique Formula Diet.
I do.
And when I was reading the description, what I was really intrigued by was how you say that you can help the average 9-to-5er achieve the body of a world-class athlete. And that's kind of what I want to get into today, because I know I personally have a lot of friends, and when I was a 9-to-5er, I know how hard it is to have the motivation to get to the gym in the morning or after work. And worse off than that, I know that almost every day of the week you're probably ordering Chinese food or pizza because you just don't have the time to cook, and you're drained at the end of the day. So I'm going to let you run with it and just go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of people that might be listening to this might say, oh, that's such a bold statement. But the reality of the situation is that to get optimal results with your performance, with your training, with your body, it comes down to the effort that you put into it. So you can take someone that works 9 to 5 and maybe he's a former athlete or has taken time off the gym, whatever it is. And if they have that if they have that desire to get results and achieve results in the gym, you can get them those results. They can build that dream body, but they have to give you that desire. That's the only thing that separates, the people on the cover of the magazines from the people that aren't on the cover of the magazines, I guess, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. It's that desire, obviously time, and there's other factors in it, but You take someone 9 to 5 that wants to work hard, and then you can give them a diet, and if they're going to follow it, they'll get results. And if they have patience, they're going to get results. And honestly, it sounds like a cop-out, and it's not sexy, and I wish I could say take 9 grams of fish oil and XYZ will happen, but everything is synergistic. It goes back to that Bruce Lee quote where everything is a tool, and it's up to the practitioner to determine what tool is the right tool for the job. You wouldn't try to hammer a board to cut it in half. You'd saw it. So that's really what it comes down to in terms of changing the body composition. And I mean, if you want to get into specifics of nutrients and ratios and workouts, we can totally do that. But it all comes down to the effort you want to put into it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, obviously. I mean, if you've got the will to do it, you can be in any situation, whether you've got just 1 extra hour a day or you'll start taking the stairs at work every day.
Right.
But I think in a general sense, what if you had a client come in and he works a busy Wall Street job and he's just in terrible shape, what tips would you have for him to start, changing that, whether it be diet, nutrition, that he could incorporate into his busy lifestyle?
Right. So the first area I look at is in terms of building compliance. So I try to start with baby steps with my clients, and with this example, with that individual, I would try to say, here, I want you to make sure you have 1 to 2 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, because I don't want to manipulate their protein, carbs, and fats. Because for the most part, if you take the average individual, they don't eat breakfast, or their breakfast is like a latte or something from Starbucks. So breakfast, while it does contain a lot of calories, that's an easy drop for later. Lunch, most people generally eat okay. I don't experience many people that are eating fast food for lunch every single day. That just doesn't happen. Generally, they're going out, and because when you go out to get food now, there's a lot of options. So, they can get wraps, they can get salads. A lot of them may have higher carbohydrates, rolls, things like that. But you're talking just straight up starches. Okay, fine. That's not a problem if we build some muscle mass. Dinner, a lot of people, again, generally not that bad of an issue. They may have a bowl of pasta. So what I'm trying to get at is their carbs may be high, but all this stuff can be manipulated easily later. What I want to do is I want to build compliance. So I'm going to make them have 1 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, whatever they want, whatever kind of fruit, whatever kind of veggies. I'm going to make them, after a week or 2, start with omega-3 fish oils, just 3 grams. There is science for a higher need for fish oil, but for this individual, I want to start lowering inflammation. I want to start improving insulin sensitivity. And then the third thing is I'm going to address their sleep qualities. And a lot of that starts to factor in and tie in with the diet. I'm going to say to them, listen, you can have your pasta at dinner, but please don't have the big bowl of ice cream or the big cookie at 9 o'clock before you go to bed. Because while that sugar at night is not as negative as people think, the sugar itself is going to reduce serotonin production, which is a brain neurotransmitter or chemical that helps relaxation. Their deep sleep, their ability to get into REM sleep is going to be reduced. And that's when all the recovery happens. So if you can add more fruits and vegetables to get the micronutrients, add the omega-3 fish oil in, and then improve their sleep quality, now you're setting that person up for success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it, because you're not preaching any crazy diet, which is, like 90% fats and no carbs ever and anything like that, because it's hard. It's hard to stick to something like that, especially when you have to eat out at lunch and you don't have a lot of time to cook dinner. So you allow a lot of leeway. But if you can just get these 3 staples in, then you're probably 70% ahead of most people out there who work in the same position as you.
Yeah, you absolutely are. So let's say it's been 3 weeks now and they have that stuff kind of in order. And they come back to me and they say, okay, I'm doing all this. What can we do now? Well, now we start to address the other things. Now I'm saying to them, listen, I understand you may be busy and you don't have time in the morning. You have kids, you have whatever. Okay, so you're not going to have breakfast. Fine. But can you have a protein bar? And I'll give them recommendations. Or can you have a whey protein shake? Can you have a shake with nuts? Can you make time to have eggs? Can you buy a magic bullet and do a fruit smoothie? So now I'm going to start tweaking their breakfast and tweaking what they put into their body and removing those excessive calories that come from their lattes or their frappuccinos, whatever. So we're going to then address diet. We're going to address their breakfast, rather, because a breakfast is an easier way for them to switch. We do that, we reduce those calories. The second step is we work on their lunch. Again, I understand that they're busy at work, so maybe I'll leave their lunch there. But I want to start reducing that lunchtime carbohydrates. And not everybody can be a mutant like me and have chicken for lunch, chicken breast for lunch. I get that, but we want healthier choices. We want a wrap instead of a roll. We want a salad instead of a hamburger. So we want to add more protein in, more healthy fat in terms of a salad, because they can put olive oil on it, they can put an avocado with it, they can do things like that. Dinner, I'm still going to leave the way it is, because dinner for a lot of people is time for them to sit down with their family, and with people that have kids or people that are busy running around, they don't necessarily have time to prepare a meal for their kids and a meal for themselves. So instead of saying, hey, you got to do salmon or chicken, you know what, if you want to have pasta and you train today, that's okay. Let's just reduce that portion size. So I'm not going to remove it from them. I'm just going to reduce the portion size.
Yeah, so you think the carbs definitely, obviously, they do have a big effect on the fat gain and performance overall.
Right. I mean, they really do. And carbs are a tricky slope. You have to modify them. And for a lot of people, having carbs at night will jack up their insulin. They will not get to a deeper restful sleep. They will have issues there. But when you're dealing with someone that has not been overly dedicated, it may not be super motivated to get in the gym, you have to give them remnants of their old life. You can't just go in and say, we're going to remove everything. We're going to do everything starting today brand new, because you'll never build compliance that way. And I know it's sexy for people that are bodybuilding backgrounds or whatever to go out and say, no, you have to do it. It's how you get results. You have to understand who you're dealing with. You're not dealing with competitors. You're not dealing with people that are going to go and spend 40 minutes on a treadmill every day and not question you. You have to deal with people with their life and give them lifetime adjustments.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if it's unattainable, then they're not going to stick to it. And
Absolutely.
I think that's what causes a problem with a lot of people. They see all the stuff out there and it's intimidating.
Yeah.
A lot of the information, you have to do this, you have to do that. And luckily, like you said, it's not too bad at lunch. You can get a lot of healthy options.
Right.
And I think dinner is probably the hardest for guys and girls who don't cook. So do you have any recommendations for people who order out a lot?
The ordering out is tough, because with ordering out, you really can't control what they cook the eggs in. If you're going to a diner, they cook it in all that butter and all that other trans fats on some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really control what's cooked. So the best thing with dinner, and it sounds counterintuitive to a lot of your readers and listeners, is that's where I actually want to give them the bulk of their carbohydrates. And I do that for a few different reasons. By not having someone have carbohydrates during the course of the day at breakfast or lunch, you keep their energy levels high, because carbohydrates in terms of starches, potatoes, rices, breads, pastas, that's going to raise your blood sugar and drop it. When that happens, you are going to feel like a zombie. You are going to not have the energy to produce. Your cognitive function is going to be reduced. A lot of your day is going to be negatively impacted when you have carbs and starchy carbs during the day. But if you can go during the day with protein, fat, fruits, and vegetables, getting your carbs from fruits, and you can work out, now your insulin sensitivity is improved. So now you've had a good long day, you go home, you can have a portion of pasta, a cup of pasta, or a cup of sweet potatoes, or white rice, because now your body's going to take that carbohydrates, it's going to store it primarily as muscle glycogen, because remember, you probably just trained, and now all those relaxation hormones, serotonin, dopamine, all that stuff that puts you in a good mood is going to be elevated. That's elevated. You just had your carbs, so you're not yearning for a cheat food, quote unquote, but you're also going to get into a deeper night's sleep because you had that meal around 6 or 7 o'clock. You're probably not going to bed till 9, so your body will process that, but all the feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters are elevated, so you actually sleep better. You won't snack because you just had your carbs at night.
Yeah, it's actually a very good philosophy, because a lot of it is reversed out there. It's eat all your carbs in the morning and then kind of cut back at lunch and then none at dinner. But
right.
It does make a lot of sense, because if you are working out in the evening, correct me if I'm wrong, you do have to restore the glycogen in your muscles with the carbs.
Yeah.
Or else you're not going to recover. And
right.
I know a big problem of mine now is because I don't eat a lot of carbs. I guess I'm lucky to have the luxury like you. I can go pretty hardcore on making my own food and packaging it. And I stay away from gluten, and I try to stay away from most grains and eat a lot of healthy fats. And, when I do get my carbs, there are things like sweet potatoes and whatnot. But then I find myself craving carbs late at night, like sweets. Right. And
yeah,
I think
what I try to do with myself and to make it easier, it's not that it's a one size fits all, that, it's going to be better to have carbs at night, because a lot of people, that's still going to impact their insulin sensitivity negatively if they have a good amount of fat mass on them, if they haven't trained. So the best advice I actually have for people is, if you somehow have the schedule where you can train in the middle of the day, split your carbs up 50-50, have that 50 post-workout, have the other 50 grams, let's just assuming 100 grams at night. The topic of muscle glycogen post-workout and replenishment, I go back and forth on that, to be honest, because a lot of the research actually comes from endurance populations, are people that did a workout, a long run today, and may have to do some type of workout tomorrow and another long run in 48 hours.
Yeah.
So their need to replenish muscle glycogen is higher than someone that is doing a traditional bodybuilding-based workout. When I say bodybuilding, I don't mean you're just doing arms, but you're training to look good naked. So for those individuals, I found for them it's a little bit better to make sure that they have some carbs post-training. They're not going to really refill their muscle glycogen too much because a lot of it's too much carbs, too much, more. You need to refuel. You don't, because your training isn't necessarily depleting your muscle glycogen. So if I can give them a little carbs post-workout and then a little bit at dinner, that's where they get the bigger benefit. But, it's like with coconut water now. Everybody loves coconut water. It's a new darling. Coconut water is just an excuse to have more carbs. And I'm not knocking coconut water. It's like the Gatorades or Powerades out there. You see someone that's pedaling super slow on a bike, and you watch them work out and it takes them an hour to do 4 sets because they're too busy talking to people. They're not burning muscle glycogen. All they're doing is giving their body extra carbs that they have to run through those carbs before they get into their stored body fat. So it's the same thing with coconut water. Coconut water does have a lot of electrolytes. It is beneficial, but for a lot of people, it's extra carbs they don't necessarily need.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was thinking about when you were talking was, based on these carbs, what would you recommend over other carbs? Like, would you recommend sweet potatoes over rice, over pastas, over breads? What is the best kind of carbs that someone could get who still wants to indulge in that at night?
Right. And that's a great question, too, because I know myself, I like having pasta once a week. There are studies that show there's no statistical difference between white rice and brown rice. Bodybuilders have this idea that you have to have brown rice. Well, brown rice has 1 more gram of fiber compared in 1 cup to white rice, literally 1 more gram. It's just because the outer hull, which is what makes it brown, has that fiber. Mm-hmm. But brown rice and whole grains sometimes have extra phytates in them that may bind and leach minerals. So sometimes white rice is maybe better. So for a lot of people, it's not as much of a good carbs as bad carbs. They can have white potatoes, they can have sweet potatoes, white rice, brown rice. I tend to reduce a little pasta because while I love it, a lot of the pasta that, unless you make it fresh, a lot of my pasta I make fresh myself. It's just flour, water, eggs, and a little bit of salt. Mm-hmm. Unless you make it fresh from scratch like that, it's going to have some other preservatives in there. So I generally tend to remove that. But as long as you stick with your potatoes, your rices, you can do a little whole grain bread. People call me crazy, and it may sound crazy to your listeners, but there is no statistical difference between a candy bar and white rice. So let me clarify that for a second.
I know, yes. I agree with you,
Yeah, a candy bar does have more sugar. It will have more artificial sweeteners. It will impact your blood sugar a little bit differently. But your body sees the 20 grams from a potato chip or the 20 grams from a candy bar the same way as it sees the 20 grams from a sweet potato. Again, sweet potato is healthier, but I say that and bring that up to as long as your carbs are controlled. Everybody online loves, if it fits your macros, that type of diet. And I think that diet, while it has some benefits, gives people reasons to eat foods they shouldn't necessarily be eating. You can slide it in a little bit here and there. You get some room for error, some margin for error when you look at it that way. But you have to really be a dedicated person. And you have to sit there. I know I screw up myself, right? Sometimes I'm going to have this nice cookie that's going to be 20 grams of carbs. And sometimes I screw up and end up still overeating by 20 grams because I had that cookie. So a lot of it is you get leeway. You don't have to be super strict, but at the same time, a routine and being in a routine is generally what's going to lead to the best results for the 9-to-5er.
Yeah, definitely. And to just comment on your topic about, white rice not being much different than a candy bar.
Right.
I don't know if you've read Grain Brain.
I have.
Yeah, I recently just read that as well. And I was really surprised, that how everyone thinks, wheat bread this, wheat bread that. But at the end of the day, wheat bread spikes your blood sugar equally as much as white bread, which spikes your blood sugar more than a candy bar. So it's like, it's crazy how the media portrays things, and there's such a big food industry now. So they push cereals, they're pushing wheat bread, whole grains, but this stuff's not good for you.
Oh man, we can talk for an hour about, I just rewatched Food Inc. again the other day. And for any of your listeners that haven't watched it, Food Inc. was a documentary that came out in 2006 all about how we are being poisoned by, our own government, for lack of a better term, how it's cheaper to buy chips than it is broccoli, and how, how our animals are treated. And, in 2006, that really made an impression on me. Mm-hmm. And I started eating, I didn't eat all organic, right? So a lot of stuff with organic is when you look at it, go to Whole Foods and pick up one of their organic chicken breasts and pick up one of their regular Whole Foods chicken breasts. And it has the same 3 bullet points, right? No artificial feed, no hormones used, good environment for the animals. The only difference is it doesn't have the USDA organic label. And one of my businesses is a 100% organic, non-GMO, extra virgin olive oil. I had to use a different label. I could not use the USDA organic label on that, even though it's 100% organic and it's verified and it's certified, because they want to control the font you use. There's a million things that go into making a product 100% USDA certified organic. It's not just if the animals are injected with hormones. It's not just if they use GMO or artificial crops to feed them. So for a lot of times, people are sometimes fooling themselves with organic. Now, I only eat grass-fed beef. Every now and then if I go out and have a hamburger, I'm not a stickler for it. I only eat grass-fed beef. I only will eat a Whole Foods chicken breast because, again, it has those 3 bullet points. It does come from farms they own. Mm-hmm. Fruits and vegetables, I go back and forth on, honestly. Generally, I buy the Whole Foods, frozen fruits because it's non-GMO. But I'm not too much of a stickler for it. But to what I was saying about Food Inc., it's funny, in 2006, they talked about how the economy was going to collapse a little bit, and the government, it's really hard for them to sustain the type of food production they're doing. And they said, you're going to start seeing more genetically modified foods in our food system. Well, now, 2014, what's the big rage? GMOs,
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a tangent I went off on. I don't even know what made me go on that. I'm sorry, Oh, no. You're brain. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, so when you look at traditionally the term whole grains, what are whole grains traditionally? They are your rices. They are your oatmeals. Those are traditional whole grains. But you see a bread that's brown and that's labeled whole grain. Well, that bread does not go bad in a day. If you buy real whole grain bread from a bakery, it will go bad the next day. You have to eat it in 24 hours. And a lot of those prepackaged breads are just white breads that are injected with brown dye to make them look brown. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. We live in a world of chaos. We totally do. And, a lot of people say, how should I eat? Should I eat organic? Should I be a vegan? Listen, I've been at so many conferences and spoke and listened to presentations about vegan diets and going vegetarian. And they say, you know what? People felt better. And you'll see this all the time. They'll say, I felt better. I lost weight when I stopped eating meat. Well, ask them what are the changes they made to their diet. And you hear the same stuff. Well, I started working out more and I stopped smoking and I started sleeping and I stopped drinking. Well, no shit, you lost weight, right? It has nothing to do with the meat you ate or the meat you didn't eat. And I understand that's a personal choice for everybody. But, when it comes down to, I just look at it like, listen, I'm going to eat a lot of broccoli. I'm going to eat a lot of kale. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get those nutrients that detox my body. And, I'm going to eat my sometimes organic meat, sometimes not. Grass-fed beef, I'm going to eat that primarily. My coffee's going to be organic, but I'm not going to go too crazy because then you have to look at it from this way, Sean. I have a friend that all they do is they buy organic, and they end up spending $200 a week on fruits and vegetables, right? Yeah. And it's like, okay, so your organic stuff isn't sprayed with pesticides. Great, that's good. But there are no studies, with the exception of 2 or 3 that I can think of off the top of my head, that show organic foods have more nutritional value. They show they have a little more vitamin C. But when you're eating broccoli, you're eating it for the sulfur content, you're eating it for the DIM, the nutrients that we know fight cancer. So what's better? Are you going to have 1 head of organic broccoli a week, or are you going to have 3 heads of organic broccoli a week and getting more of the same nutrient? Well, when you look at it in a vacuum that way, it is the conventional broccoli. But people will say, hey, it's sprayed with pesticides. What people don't realize about the organic argument is that the majority of farms that are out there that are producing organic farms, they have to get certified to be organic to begin with, and only about 25% of farms that are organic are inspected every year to prove they're still organic, but they're producing conventional broccoli next to organic broccoli. There's a thing called wind. So if you spray one crop and it's close to another one, so I don't know, man. I'm totally hijacking this interview, so I'll get it back on track, but it's tough out there,
No, it's perfect. I mean, this is great information. And I agree with you on the fact that, yeah, like, we're really not in control of much, We grew up the last 20 years And we were taught and led to believe that all these foods were great and grains were good and whole grain bread was great. And even with things like that. And now people are starting to realize, even with like plastics, you know, we put plastics in almost everything for the last 50 years. And now we're realizing like, holy shit, it's destroying the male endocrine system and our sperm.
Oh, it really is.
Our sperm, I just did like a big thing on this, that our sperm counts are down like 70% from the 1940s since like the chemical revolution. And
yeah, I have a whole section in my physique formula book talking about it. And there's research where it was done, I believe, at the University of Cincinnati. And they had like 14 women that were pregnant, and they made them eat out of plastic containers. And they found that then, you know, when these women, when they actually ended up giving birth to their babies, the baby's urine was tested, and it had a lot of the platelets and a lot of the BPA. It had all the nasty plastics in there.
yeah.
You know, and then you look at further in BPA and platelets, a lot of that stuff was created for like the makeup industry.
Mm-hmm.
But yet a lot of companies saw how good it was and how heat resistant it was that they boiled it up to then put in plastics where we store our food.
Yeah, and now they realize that, you know, oh shit, we kind of messed up. And sperm rates are dropping at a 1 to 2% every year, and it's scary because you know, the standards for infertility used to be like 60 milliliters per million, and now it's 20. You know, it's gone. And actually, it's down to 15 now.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at getting my blood done right now. You know, I like to get it done about once a year just to have a metric of what's going on, you know, because you get older every year. So if you could have that metric of how your cholesterol went from one year to the next, you know, knowledge is always truly power.
Yeah, so that leads me to my point on bringing this up is like, you're always going to be told things by the government. I'm not trying to be like a government conspiracy guy here, but all you can really do is like educate yourself and then make your own decisions based on your self-education and decide how deep you want to go in it. I mean, there's certainly different levels. People listening here, probably they're on regular diets. They may decide, I'm going to eat healthy, so I'm going to stop eating Fruity Pebbles and just stick to whole grain breads. For me, that's like unhealthy still. So my level is like, I don't eat bread, I don't eat gluten, and I eat sweet potatoes and things. And you're at the next level. Like, you're buying all organic meat and all this, and I don't buy organic meat or grass-fed meat, but I do try to buy organic vegetables just because of the pesticides and stay away from plastics like that. So there's definitely different levels, and it's up to the user. All you can do is give them the information. Yeah,
you know, and then it comes down to, you know, it's your dollar, and how I look at it is, where am I going to spend my money on? So if I have $100, what am I going to spend that on? What am I going to do? So maybe my coffee will be organic, my meat will be grass-fed, maybe my vegetables won't. Maybe I'll buy the Whole Foods frozen ones that are non-GMO, or, you know, and then I'll spend everything is a piece of a pie, and that's the way I really look at it. And unfortunately, a lot of people like to go, you know, super hardcore and super like everything has to be one way or the other. But when you look at it, is everything has to be equal parts. Like, so I won't buy organic fruits or vegetables, but I will buy grass-fed beef, which is more expensive because I don't want the corn and the hormones in that. So it's just really, you know, you vote every time you spend your money.
Exactly, yeah. And it's also like, right now I don't have the luxury of spending an extra $400 on food every month. But if I did have that, I definitely would. So that's a big factor as well.
And that's what people always say to me. They say, you know, how can you afford to eat the way you eat? The answer is I eat less. You know, I still eat a lot of food, but I eat less. I'm not having 2 grass-fed beef meals a day. I'm not having 2 organic chicken meals a day. You know, I fast a little bit. I'm having fruit smoothies. I'm cutting corners there as well. So the quantity isn't as high as some people think it is.
Yeah. And before we got on our little tangent here, you gave some incredible tips for guys and gals to adjust their diets ever so slightly on a 9-to-5 schedule to still be able to perform at a high level and lose fat and even, you know, gain muscle, get a six-pack. But now I guess we're getting to the next level for people who are already at that level and they want to really get the most out of their body. I know that just changing your diet alone and adding more broccoli and reducing breads and sugars and eating more healthy fats is going to dramatically boost your testosterone levels alone. My question that I'm really interested to see what you have to talk about is how you feel about cholesterol, because it's deemed, you know, there's so much evidence coming out now that shows that, hey, it's not bad for you, but it's still being deemed as evil out there. And my own father is on cholesterol lowering medications, and I hate it because
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell them that I'm 100% believe that cholesterol is not bad for you. It's just, it was labeled as bad 20 years ago. And now that we have different information, there's so much money in that industry that it's almost impossible to reverse.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. And it's unfortunate that people like, your father and people in my family take cholesterol lowering medications, blood pressure lowering medications, because they come from an age where, they didn't have this knowledge that we had. So they unfortunately got on the medications. And, my father will go to his doctor once a year and he'll say, I want to up my fish oil a little bit and I want to come off my cholesterol medication. And he'll say, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
The doctor will say to him, and, so is cholesterol bad? That's a great question. If people look at it, it's like with the paleo diet, okay? They look at it and they say, you got to eat a lot of fat. Well, you tell a regular person to eat a lot of fat, and you got women that are 120 pounds eating 150 grams of fat. That's still not acceptable. Fat is still a macronutrient and still has to be accounted for. It's not as evil as carbs, but it still has to be accounted for. So cholesterol itself is not bad. It's how we measure cholesterol. So when you get your cholesterol measured, most people just think of good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. But if you look at your bad cholesterol and you further break that down and look at your ApoB and look at other aspects of your bad cholesterol, then you really find what's going on. And is your cholesterol is your bad cholesterol as bad as your doctor's making it out to be? And in that situation, it may be a little different. And as long as the numbers are in proper ratio, a lot of people you see their bad cholesterol is through the roof and the good cholesterol has bottomed out. That's a bad situation. But as long as there's a specific ratio of good to bad, you're okay. And as long as your good is going up, if your bad is going up, you're all right.
Yeah, man. So these are all great points. And if you guys want to learn more about cholesterol, I'll link to some great stuff you can read in the show notes at menprovement.com/MPP012. And I'll link to stuff that talks about how cholesterol is now proven to have no correlation with heart attacks or death. And people with higher cholesterol actually live longer. And it tells the real story of what causes heart attacks and things like that. And it's actually oxidation, which is it's oxidation and inflammation, which is ironically caused by sugars and carbs, which, the food companies feed you in all your cereals and stuff. And then you're told cholesterol is bad, but times are changing. And if you want to learn more about that, definitely head to the show notes and check that out. Because cholesterol is one of those things that's going to boost your testosterone and help your brain health if you're getting it, like Jimmy said, from the right sources. And it's going to allow you to achieve the performance that these elite athletes do. What are good sources of cholesterol? We're talking like eggs, avocados, and things. The things you have to be careful of are trans fats. So don't go out and say, I heard on MenProvement that I can just eat fats and it's healthy, because not all fats are healthy. So you gotta know what fats are healthy. Good oils, coconut oils, avocados, nuts, eggs, cheeses, and stay away from the trans fats as much as you can, because what's dangerous is when you have high triglycerides. And like Jimmy said, when your bad cholesterol is bad and high and your low cholesterol is low. So definitely keep an eye on your cholesterol levels, but don't be scared of them. Another thing is that cholesterol, because you have high cholesterol, but you're also eating a high carbohydrate, high sugar diet, because the sugars are what binds to the LDL and renders it inert, and that's when there's complications. So ultimately, it's really the sugar. And if you eat a high cholesterol diet with a lot of eggs and cheese and everything, you're going to be fine, and you're going to be healthier if you are lowering your carbohydrates, meaning sugars, and upping your vegetables and everything. That's ideal. But I don't want you to run out and just take what I just said and think you know everything about cholesterol, because there's so much science behind it and information. I really want you to go to the show notes and learn for yourself. If you really want to change your diet and not be scared of cholesterol and get off statin medications, go to the show notes at menprovement.com/MPP012, and I'll link to everything where you can learn for yourself and make the decision whether you think you want to get off your statin medications and how you feel about cholesterol. All right, so enough about cholesterol, and now we can jump back into eating for performance. So where did I leave you off, Jimmy?
So when you're talking about eating for performance, I have had the good fortune. I work with a few UFC fighters. I work with some people trying to qualify for the Olympics. I work with some high-level athletes. And for them, it's you start talking about the 5%. So for those people, it's pretty easy to say, hey, listen, I want this many carbs, this much fat. I want you to take these supplements before they train, and all that stuff. You really look at the little things that can give them the best results. You look at making them take 1 or 2 cold showers a day, specifically a cold shower before you go to bed. It will help insulin sensitivity. It will help you sleep deeper. Your body does not have to cool itself down. You can get deeper sleep. Deeper sleep raises growth hormone, et cetera, et cetera. You look at having them do, just some cold therapy. I live in a condo complex that has a pool, and when the pool's open during the summer months, every day post-workout, I'm 6'6", and the pool goes up to 6 feet. So I just go and I stand in the deep end for about 15 minutes. And I feel like $1 million when I get out of there because I've controlled my inflammation. I've allowed whatever area I just trained to start recovering. All of that matters. You look at specific supplements for boosting testosterone, supplements like maca, omega-3 intake, anti-estrogen supplements like DIM, endo-3 carbinol. You start playing with all these other nutrients to give them advanced results, and that's when the 5% really matters.
Yeah, and these are still things that guys with 9-to-5 jobs could easily do. If you have the willpower to take a cold shower every night and even in the morning, I've read, it's great for you. Like you said, the insulin sensitivity. I've even read that it has effects on your testosterone levels.
It will. It will.
And depression and things like that. And it could definitely change your entire day.
Yeah, if I could kind of wrap that up, just 3 advanced tips for quote unquote regular people. I hate that term, but
yeah, absolutely.
It's to take a cold shower at night. Because generally they work, they get home, they're on the computer, they're doing all that stuff, they're wound up. Take a 2-minute cold shower before you go to bed. It will help testosterone, it will help joint recovery, it will help deep sleep. Get off technology about 30 to 45 minutes before you go to bed. Just because your pineal gland, which is in your eye, will have some issues, and it's responsible for your body's production of a whole host of chemicals, specifically melatonin, that gets you to get to sleep, to deeper sleep. So shut technology off, even shut your TV off, read a book, do something, get off your phone for about 30 minutes before you go to bed. Ideally, keep your room around 67 degrees. Again, testosterone production, deeper sleep. And if I can tell you to add one supplement, add curcumin in. Curcumin is a fantastic nutrient. It comes from turmeric, which is that kind of curry Indian spice that gives food. But if you can take curcumin just twice a day, your inflammatory markers will go down, your insulin sensitivity will increase, good things will happen.
Yeah, I take it every day. It's incredible stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you were just talking about the, getting off the technology and sleep things, because this is a huge tip that I started to research and learn a lot about, was the blue light.
Yeah.
The problem that we have that when the sun goes down, our bodies don't know that we're in the technological age. We're still primates, and we're still like the same makeup as the Neanderthals. Our body that's when we start producing melatonin. And as soon as we get on our bright laptop or even answer a text message at 10 at night, that light goes straight into your eye and your body starts producing serotonin again.
Yeah.
And it affects your sleep greatly. I actually just ordered a pair of blue blocking glasses, and there's actually there's programs that you can download for your computer and your phone called Flux, that at a certain time you type in what your location, and as the sun goes down, your computer adjusts to not emit any more blue lights.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable. And I'm excited to see how much of effect it has on my sleep, because it's kind of like that feeling that when I'm away from the technology and I'm driving back like 2 hours from somewhere at night and I get home, that's the best sleep I ever had, because I haven't looked at a light in the last 3 hours. But it's so rare that I ever do that, because I fall asleep usually after watching TV for an hour.
Yeah.
And just,
no. You're 100% correct. When you can do that, I try to do it every night. I'll have the TV on, I'll watch a game, but I'll also not be on front of my phone. I'll be reading, whether it's about sports or even about diet or stuff like that. And I try not to read about business because that gets my mind going, but I'll try to read something just to get into that relaxed state, man. And just to kind of, get my body to kind of calm itself down and ramp up, all the good stuff that allows me to sleep.
Yeah, it's really important, because sleep, it's the most important thing almost.
Yeah, well, totally.
Yeah, so we talked about diet, how people can change their diet, eat less carbs at breakfast, if I remember, and like a little bit less at lunch, and then you can eat some after you work out in the evening, and that's gonna help you lose weight, perform higher. Then we talked about a little bit more in depth on going organic and cholesterol, and now we talked about ways that you can improve your sleep and some methods about cold showers. So we've already gone through a lot of stuff that guys can take today and go out and start to use, no matter what they're doing with their lives, no matter how much free time they have, and achieve a higher level of performance. One thing we didn't talk about was actually the exercise itself.
Sure.
What are your recommendations on that for the people who are just trying to lose 10 to 15 pounds, keep themselves at optimal performance, but don't have time to commit like 2 to 3 hours a day to?
Yeah, that's a great question. My best piece of advice is really just to make sure you're progressing every workout. And you can progress a few different ways. You can progress by adding more weight to the bar, and it's not about trying to make you big, huge, muscular, but adding 2.5 pounds to the bar every time. That will help you get a lot of results there. You can progress by adding more reps. So if you bench press 135 pounds for 10 reps, try to get it for 11 reps. That's progression. At the end of the day, training comes down to your ability to get stronger. And again, not stronger in terms of lifting heavy weight, but stronger in terms of your ability to do more reps, your ability to do more work, your ability to do less work in a given time frame. If you're going to the gym and you're doing 20 sets in an hour, well, try to do 22 sets in an hour. Mm-hmm. So it's all about progress. Myself, personally, I'm a little more old school in terms of like, hey, I really want someone to deadlift, to squat, to bench press, to overhead press. That is how you're going to get a sexy body. Like, cutting all the BS away. There's programs out there that like get ripped in 15 minutes. Yeah. They're trying to market to you. I get it from a business wise. They're trying to appeal, but you can see anyone, a woman, a dude, someone, especially people that work 9 to 5, they are so short and tight up front in terms of their quads, their lats, their pecs. And the best thing for them to do is to go in the gym and do a deadlift and to, work their flexibility and do a row and do an overhead press. All that stuff is so important. And people don't do that, and they don't, so you can go and you can train any way you want. You can train full body, you can train upper, lower. A lot of reasons why people love CrossFit and feel that CrossFit is so great and they didn't get results anywhere else, which I think is BS, but it's because CrossFit pushes you to do more every workout. CrossFit hates the notion of isolation, which I'm going to disagree with, and it's wrong to a large degree, but you can take someone that doesn't push themselves, but they go in a gym and there's a bunch of people around them working out hard, and their instructor is saying, hey, you don't get to choose what you want to do. You're going to do a shoulder press and you're going to do a burpee. And that's why people progress there, because they're taking themselves out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you had a great tip in there, which I think would really actually apply to most people, including my friend who I thought of. I guarantee he's not military pressing or deadlifting when he hits the gym. And he's probably doing curls and then doing a bench press and then doing a curl machine or like a fly machine. But yeah, those compound exercises, if you can do those, how many times would you recommend? Maybe once a week deadlift, once a week military press?
Well, you know what? I'm such a fan of frequency because I really think that is the undiscovered variable in terms of for growth. I squat twice a week. I deadlift twice a week.
Yeah, squatting's another big one.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to make each workout structured around a lift. Like make one day is going to be a squat day and you're going to deadlift a little lighter. Make that a Monday, and then on a Thursday, make that a deadlift day with a little lighter of a squat.
Yeah.
So that's my best piece of advice there. I have another day where I press and where I press all day. So shoulder press and chest press. And another day is a back day. And then I have a day where I train my arms. So generally it's about 3 full body workouts a week. Full body in terms of like I'm doing a push press, which uses my legs, but uses my shoulders. So, that's a lot that comes into the equation there.
Yeah, no, those are great tips because I think most people don't do that, and that alone can change your performance and your results like tenfold, not even changing your diet and everything. But so to come full circle all the way back to the diet, I was just thinking what we never really talked about, what would be like a good breakfast example for someone to switch from cereal to.
Yeah, so if they have time, obviously eggs work. People don't really like eggs, so they can just do like a Vans organic waffle if they want to do that. Mm-hmm. They can have a fruit smoothie. They can have a plain old Greek yogurt. They can do that. There's a Greek yogurt with some fruits or vegetables, not vegetables, with some fruits or granola in there. Granola's a little high in calories and maybe not the best source of carbs, but that will help a lot of people just get results. Or just a smoothie. Those are generally the 3 best options I give people.
Yeah, I know I'm almost every day. It's eggs and black beans and vegetables or avocado. eggs, black bean, and avocado. That's like my signature breakfast. And
you like that, huh?
I find that I react to that really well. I have energy all day, and I cook in coconut oil as well. What are your thoughts on coconut oil?
I love coconut oil. Like, I think it's gotten obviously super popular, so it's taken off. My Physique Formula brand, we're actually producing our own organic coconut oil soon. But I like it. I tend to cook with it. I don't cook with coconut as much as I eat coconut. I guess that kind of doesn't make sense to people. I cook with more olive oil, and I do use a little coconut about 3 times a week on my eggs. But every day I will have a coconut smoothie, a coconut milk smoothie. So it's 1 cup, which is very low in fat, no carbs. And I'll put some cocoa powder, and I'll put some cinnamon and some whey protein. I'll have that as a smoothie. And then I have another smoothie every day that's a kale-based smoothie. So I'll buy blueberries, raspberries, something like that. I'll put kale in there. I'll put turmeric. And since turmeric tastes terrible, turmeric powder, I actually put coconut flakes, organic coconut flakes. So I'll put that in there. And, so that's where I get my coconut from that.
Yeah, I think that's great. No, and we've covered pretty much the whole topic in 48 minutes, which is impressive because I thought that we were going to run real far here. And I think we gave a lot of actionable advice for people who are working 9 to 5 to go and use starting tomorrow morning. Right. It's huge, and I'm so grateful for it.
Right.
So
I had fun, man. I'm happy that we were able to do this, and happy that we were able to get the Skype stuff figured out. And like I said, if you ever want to bring me on, man, again, and talk a little business, I will happily do that.
Yeah. Before you go, I wanna jump in. I think we could do like 5 more minutes. I've got some questions for you that were in the description of your book that I'm really interested in asking you. Yeah. So we'll do a little rapid fire session here for the last 5 to 10 minutes. All right. So you say you have a trick to feel instantly better after a meal. What is it?
Yeah, it's actually how I take digestive enzymes. Believe it or not, most people, their body does not produce enough hydrochloric acid. Their body will not produce enough of the enzymes needed due to stress and aging and a variety of factors that allow their body to properly digest their food. So people eat and then they'll be like, I feel bloated, I feel terrible. Well, that's because they're not having any of that good digestive properties in there.
That's really interesting. So you take digestive enzymes?
Yeah. My again, not to keep plugging my Physique Formula brand, but
no, go ahead.
We produce an enzyme. A lot of the digestive enzymes on the market are just your general digestive enzymes, but we do a combination of digestive enzymes and proteolytic systemic enzymes, so enzymes that reduce inflammation. But I also put a little betaine HCl, so hydrochloric acid that your body can actually use to further break down the foods that you take in. So,
no, it's really, I've never heard of that. It's really interesting. I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah. I kind of added that into that formula. So that's what a lot of people don't do that they should do.
Yeah, and that's on physiqueformuladiet.com, right?
Yeah, physiqueformuladiet.com will take you there, yeah.
All right, question number 2. You say here that you have, where is it? 1 food that will improve your sex life dramatically. Yeah,
believe it or not, and a lot of people don't look at it this way. It's not a sexy food, but oysters. Oysters are really any type of seafood, but oysters are primarily the main one. Super high in zinc, super high in other nutrients that are going to help you, kind of get it up, for lack of a better term. Improve blood flow to that region and increase your sex drive. A lot of people that train so hard just beat down their bodies and they do nothing to get it back. So oysters and any fish in to that degree will help.
And the last question that we'll run is, what is the number 1 fat burning hormone and how can you control it?
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate, right? People talk about testosterone is good because testosterone builds muscle. They talk about growth hormone because pro athletes use it. But really the best hormone to control your body is insulin. Insulin to a large degree is a mother hormone in that if insulin's high, blood pressure is going to be affected. Cholesterol is going to be affected. Testosterone is going to be lower because estrogen is going to be higher. Insulin itself is the most anabolic hormone we have, but it's also the mother hormone because if we can control it with adequate carbohydrate intake, we're good to go.
Awesome, man. That's incredible. And these are only 3 questions that I just ran through real quick out of dozens in Jimmy's book, which why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find your stuff? And
that's great. You guys can check out my book is physiqueformula.com. And you guys can go there and that will have my book. It'll be a sales page to tell you a little about the book. You guys can also check out physiqueformuladiet.com. That's kind of my hub. I have a weekly podcast that I drop. I just released one with champion powerlifter, a really good, well-known coach. I have anybody that's into pro wrestling, I have that on there. I have a lot of people on there. I have Eric Bischoff coming up next week who ran WCW. A few pro wrestlers coming on that. And I try to get a lot of different personalities. My goal for the podcast is I don't truly ever interview fitness people. I interview people that are related to the fitness and physical culture in one way, but for the most part, are outside the realm, so we can talk about a variety of things.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely going to check it out.
And it's on iTunes too, so subscribe there and leave a review.
Yeah, I just found out about you a few days ago, but it was awesome talking to you. And this is our first fitness show, and I learned a lot myself, and I'm sure that people can take a lot of actionable steps out of it, which is what I'm all about. I love that people can go and pretty much start to change their life tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm so grateful for you coming on, man. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the MenProvement Podcast with Sean Russell. Get more episodes, more tips, and download our free self-improvement ebooks at www.menprovement.com.